Thanks for clicking on the video. Like, subscribe, and share if you find this useful or interesting. Welcome to the coffee break. Last time we prepared these closed sections, and there was a lot of work dealing with folders and copy pasting and naming things. And this was a very valuable step, but very difficult and tedious. And I'm sorry I couldn't make the video any shorter and still hit all the points that I needed to hit. I was actually surprised to see that there was still 20% of people watching to the end, and I am very pleasantly surprised about that. To everyone else who couldn't put up with it, I apologize. So today we're going to look at what the result will be after this episode. We're going to do this in the next episode, but I want to take a quick look at it. So what did I do? I have 3 copies of my layout of 4 curves that is blended, and I joined them with straight lines, which is a shortcut. Later, we can come back and convert these straight lines into curves, and we can make them all kinds of curves. We can make them curves like these, we can make them arcs, we can make them fully 3-dimensional with little controllers in the corners that point anywhere you want in space. So this will be a very powerful object. But right now what I've done is I've created these straight lines, I've copy-pasted and mapped our friend, the 3-segment curve, onto it. And I've also blended across these in the middle, because I can't blend at the ends, there's nothing to blend to. But in the middle, I was able to do a little blend curve, just like I did on here. And then I used the overall curves, unblended, to create these 8 main surfaces. And that's what you see right here. And so what we have in front of us right now is what I call the primary surfaces and the blending preview curves. These blending curves are previews, and you'll notice that they don't even really touch each other. So it's kind of not obvious in what ways they represent the blend. But there's a very strict way in which it represents the blend, and it goes like this. If we only blended from the top to the bottom, but we were not blending these corners, then we would get this curve. And the reverse. If we were not blending in this direction, but we were only blending around the section, then we would obtain this curve. When we blend in both directions, we will obtain a blend of these two. See, because this blend doesn't really know anything about this blend yet. But when we finish it off, it'll all work together. An important thing to note about these main or primary surfaces here is that they never completely go away. So one thing that's really important is do not create surfaces that you don't like, because they're never going away. The blend is very powerful, but it's not infinitely powerful. If you create a large patch of a lot of surfaces, and there's a lot of them you don't like, blending won't make them go away. If you look back, remember one of the earlier video demo models? We had this thing, and it was very powerful, and it blended really well. But these original surfaces never completely go away. See, this here is part of the primary surface, and this, and this, and this right here. This is a blend, but at the top and bottom and all around, there's always a piece of the original surface left. So if that surface was something you didn't really like and you just put it there because you didn't know what to do, that's a problem, because it's never going away. You can blend out a lot of the primary surface. Here are my primary surfaces, and here is the blend. And there's only this much right here left in the tiny little piece in the middle of the original surface. But overall, it still looks like this. It still looks a lot of light. So because I like these surfaces here, I like the final result. But if I didn't want this little curved piece right here, bad news, because it's never really going away. Same here, different version of the same model. I like these surfaces here, even though they're hard-edged, and because I like these surfaces, then I like the blended version. But again, there's only a tiny little piece left. See, of this entire surface here, there's only this much left. But because the blend is very smooth, it maintains the character of the original surface. This is really important. The main surfaces are not going away, so you need to like them. And because you need to like them, that's why Silk give you so much control. And if you remember, this model is very complicated, but my primary target audience is people who are already willing to do complicated things with Silk. Now, it's useful for everyone, because it's a great way to learn it, but I admit that it's very scary. But I'm doing this to show the organization potential to people who are like willing to say, I'm going to go ahead and make this entire model, which I didn't make. Someone made that with Silk. And so this series of tutorials is very in-depth on how to make large models. Later, I will create tutorials of just a few things at a time. And I will also make tutorials on all the options on each tool. Right now, I'm using a very simple version of each tool in order to speed run across the entire thing, but still have a meaningful model to look at. Anyway, so that was the coffee break. In the next video, we're going to make this. So what is this? This contains my 3 sections and the curves that go across, and the grids, and the main grids, and the main surfaces. So it has the same number of folders as before, plus 2, actually plus 3. One more for these grids, and then here I'm showing an alternate grid. I'll give you a quick preview. This is the grid you always start with, and it can have distortions, but there's a good reason for these distortions. If we're going to blend everything, we can make a derived grid, and this derived grid is much, much smoother. So I'll show you how to do that, and that will knock out one more tool in the toolbar, and then when I have these grids, I make the surfaces. So that's what we're going to do in the next episode. So we have 3 new folders, but inside our folders now, I've moved all the layouts into here. And if I look, I've moved all the control sketches into here from the 3 different sections. And then for the rest of these folders, something funky happens. But the good news is that this is about as far as we're going to structure it, and so we don't care anymore. What's happening in here? In my control poly folder, let me hide everything else. In my control poly folder, notice that I removed the 3L from the name, because now I have control poly 3Ls, but I also have control poly 2Ps, which are just drawn between 2 points. So I grabbed all the folders from the sections, dumped them in here, and then all the new ones, I just dumped them in the folder, and I didn't even bother making a folder. And now I have all my control polys. And this is what happens in all of these folders. So we have the same folders as before, except a couple new ones for new elements, but we've had to reorganize everything that was in the previous folders. It sounds simple when I say it, but you know that the dragging and dropping is pretty involved. But we get a very good result and very powerful organization that lets us find everything we want very quickly. All right, that's what we'll do next time. Bye.